Off the heels of a solid away win in the Blue Hell, Atlanta United faced the resurgent Toronto FC. We examine everything we need to do to pick up the 3 points. Next.
What's going on, 5 Stripe fam? I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get started, become a member of the notification squad on YouTube by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. Or if you're on Facebook, hit that like and follow button.
You can now also find all our content on the Geneco USA platform anywhere in the world on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, iOS, Google Play, and many other streaming platforms.
Welcome to a match preview special. We'll tackle the SKC match recap later on this week on 5 Stripe Weekly. But as for now, let's get to Toronto FC on Wednesday. And it's at the Benz, 7 p.m. It's going to be quite a matchup, I think. I mean, Toronto FC are really on a upward trajectory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For everything that went wrong for them at the beginning of last season, it's the exact opposite so far this year. They are probably the best team in the Eastern Conference despite not occupying the top spot in the table. They have a few games in hand, like Atlanta United, that if they win, they will go top. And like Atlanta United, they've probably been playing a bit under the radar these past couple of weeks. You know, we've picked up 3 wins out of 4, 3 clean sheets, 2 of those on the road. I think this is going to be a real good barometer to see where these two teams actually are in their progression so far this season. Is Toronto as good as we think they are? Is Atlanta United improving? This match is going to go a long way to determining those things.
Yeah, because Toronto still are a little bit susceptible in shipping a goal on the road, and us, we're decent at least at home in terms of at least not maybe, just outright losing a ton of games. And so, we've at least kind of made that where the Benz is a little bit of a fortress, and so it's just about getting 3 points now at home, and that's kind of the aim, and not only the aim of this tough stretch coming up where we have 7 games in 28 days, I believe.
Yeah.
Insane.
They couldn't have done this last month, when we had Ezequiel Barco. Right. So instead of packing all of them into 1 month,
right,
it's a bit frustrating on that account. But
yeah,
I think what's interesting here is, like you said, Atlanta United, that FC Dallas loss was kind of an aberration. That was the first loss, well, one loss in our last 17 matches at home.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives a bit more credit to Atlanta United's win on the road in SKC because that was only their 4th loss in like 48 games.
Yeah.
So this is a team that plays well at home, but Toronto is a team that Atlanta United has traditionally struggled with. We still haven't beat them through all of our matchups, and everyone knows what happened on the last day of the season last year with the Supporters Shield
on decision day. Yeah, we pretty much crapped the bed. I mean, that's there's no other better way to put it. I think
it worked out in the long run, obviously.
I think it motivated them to win MLS Cup for sure, and figure out ways to maybe not have to only play one way, and that was definitely a good lesson, I think, in the end. But in terms of Toronto FC, they've in their past 5, it's been pretty decent. I mean, 2 or past 6 rather, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 3 wins. And so it's pretty decent on their end. Of course,
they've had a lot of home games so far this season.
Exactly.
They've only played 2 away matches. That was against Seattle, which they lost 3-2, and this past weekend where they beat Orlando City 2-0. So they haven't really had too many tests away. And in the one match they kind of faced, which will be similar to this one against Seattle, they didn't get the goods. They gave up 3 goals and they lost. So I think this will be really interesting because they're not going to come in and play how most teams play. It'll be a bit more hopefully like that SKC game where the other team wants to play football. They're not going to bunker. They're too talented. They've added a guy who has made everyone forget the fact that Sebastian Giovinco played for them last season because he is delivering the goods off the bat.
Yeah, Alejandro Pozuelo is just, he's chipping in goals. He's on fire. And for him to come into the league like this, I mean, it makes you ask questions of a PT Martinez in that regard. But I think, it's between between the ears for sure. This guy is coming in confident and, knowing that he can put him past anybody. And he clearly has. He's getting Toronto FC in a position where it's a scary opponent. I think, we should not take this lightly at all.
Absolutely.
And but I think what is going to be beneficial is that it might be a more open game. But I think they will realize, they probably won't have as much possession as we will because it's just what we do. We made an SKC side that loves possession. Almost pretty much get down to 40% possession. So it's one of those things where
and whether or not they struggle with injuries, which they did, it's still a 3-0 result on the road, which is a nice result to get, especially when you look at the early season road form that this team had.
Yeah.
I think the main thing about that is building off of that, which is why this matchup is so key, because if you can put 3 wins in a row together and get a result at home against a team that's probably been playing the best football so far in the Eastern Conference, you're really going to put yourself in a position to start making your way up the table and try to get to that first spot where you know you belong. I think this is going to be one of those rare games where, again, a team's going to come to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and they're going to be a bit more open at the back than usual. They're not going to sit super deep. This team wants to attack. The danger, though, is that this team scores goals when they attack. If they get their chances, they will take them. And that's going to be an issue for Atlanta United, who have shown defensive lapses early in the game and have sometimes lacked that mental strength to avoid making those silly mistakes at the back, which leave them vulnerable. Yep. If you do that against this team, they will take those chances and you'll be in a world of hurt.
Indeed, yeah. So, they also like to attack on the wings, and that really is going to put an onus on our, if we play wingbacks or if we play fullbacks. Either way, it's going to be an issue if they overload them, or if their speed is just way too much. I think with Franco Escobar back, it's definitely alleviated the right side. I think the left side, whomever you put in, it's still probably going to be an issue, unless a key Ambrose maybe can come in. And I don't know if for him, it's probably too early for him to play.
This would be a bit of a rough situation to put him in against a team that's very good attacking for his first match back.
Right.
I don't know if that's exactly the most successful situation for a player like
Exactly.
that.
It's not setting up your players to succeed. And that's something that we're really going to have to deal with, and we will if we want to actually get 3 points. But in terms of also, they're a team that is a little bit, weak at, stopping the opponents from creating chances. And so that really is good for us in terms of that. We've lately been creating a ton of chances. I think we're up to second in the league in chances. And
now Josef Martinez seems to be taking them when they drop to him.
Indeed.
And if you can get a guy like that finding that confidence, which is why Pozuelo has been so good, and as you've seen with Ezequiel Barco over the past few weeks, if you're confident and you're talented, you will get goals, you will get chances. You just have to have that confidence that when you hit it, the ball's going to find the back of the net. So this is a game that it's kind of different because Toronto hasn't been good from winning positions. That's one of their weaknesses, is that they have conceded goals from winning positions and drop points from those positions. So even if Atlanta United do concede, I think they can take solace in the fact that Toronto will leave the back door open. There will be goal scoring opportunities, which seems that Atlanta United is finding some confidence. With a player like Ezequiel Barco now gone, this match might set up perfectly for PT Martinez to finally get that first goal. And to get it against a good team might give him the confidence to really kick on and start doing what we all expected him to do when he joined.
Right. And yes, to speak on Ezequiel Barco, he left on Monday, which is the day that we're filming this. And it's going to be a really tall task for Atlanta United to replace that production. That's one of the major keys to this match is how and who are we going to replace that production with. There's quite a few that could almost probably obviously come in and maybe be that X factor. But I think another part of that is who also replaces his position.
I think you'll see PT Martinez will play in that team like he has been, and I think the most logical replacement for him in the starting 11 will be a Tito Villalba.
Right.
So that natural swap comes in. And again, I think this could really help PT because there isn't a player on the bench that you think of and go, with Tito on, who replaces PT? So this might be his first real chance to play a full match and to continue to create those chances. And I think this is where, without putting too much pressure on him, it's time for him to step up. You're getting a solid portion into the season now. Barco is going to be gone. You need someone to be able to create those chances. That's what PT Martinez does. So this game against a team that's going to be open at home, if he can take those chances and find that confidence, then you have a potential to have him in form, and an Ezequiel Barco, if he can stay fit, hopefully has a great tournament with the Argentina U20s at the World Cup. coming back, you might really find a team that's starting to find its form. So I think, yeah, PT Martinez for me is the guy that has to be the guy to step up and replace what Ezequiel Barco has been done. And again, on Barco, what a revelation he's been. From being a player who was hounded by many of the fans, to a degree, understandably so, he's starting to show the form and the ability for why Atlanta United paid as much money for him as they did. And the sad thing is now, if he continues to improve on these performances and has a good World Cup, he potentially could leave at the end of this season, which would be frustrating, but also shows that the model can work.
Right.
And I think it's no coincidence that as Ezequiel Barco's improved this season, so has Atlanta United, which makes this game, again, so key but so difficult now that he's gone.
Exactly. And I think another factor that could be an issue is fatigue, because it's only essentially 2 days after we played, and that's where MLS scheduling really comes into question again. Like, why did we not play this on a Friday, the SKC match, or even a Saturday evening?
Or why did we have that bye week right after the Columbus game?
Exactly.
When we would just have, coming off an international break, you could have played one of these matches then.
Right.
That would have saved some time.
Or even have this match on a Thursday, and then, have the next match against Orlando City maybe on a Monday. I mean, it's...
Well, I don't know if you want a Monday match.
It's true, but still,
Monday Night Football.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens in other places, maybe not so much in MLS because of the difficulty, but in terms of like attendance and all that, it's and also you'd be fighting whatever is on TV on Mondays as well. So for
Monday Night
sure,
baseball. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
baseball isn't exactly the most riveting of sports.
I don't think it's the sports. I think it's maybe the the primetime television.
Oh,
but
yeah, that's fair.
but yeah. So fatigue, will that be a factor? I think maybe for this match it won't be, but I think maybe next Wednesday it probably will be a bit much bigger
Especially when we
factor.
start getting that stupid whole back in the scheduling, flying across the country 3 separate times in a week.
Yeah. And
Really,
so,
MLS? Really? No Waste Man of the Week segment in this show, but if there was, that would be it.
But and so it's another big question is, can Josef continue his scoring prowess without Barco in the lineup? Because let's be fair, both scoring opportunities were set up by Barco. Now, you have seen a little bit of link-up play between Josef and PT, more so lately, and it's come on better. But it's going to be really kind of focused on and highlighted in this match for sure. But you also have guys that are kind of really familiar with Josef Martinez as well, with Tito Villalba and Julian Gressel, kind of very consistently providing service to him as well. So, it's one of those things, like, can he cope without Barco in the lineup? And you also have, can you stop a Pozuelo? I mean, he's a guy that is so hot right now, and he's so hot right now, and
Hansel's so hot.
He's so hot right now. But he's got 4 goals and 5 assists in 6 appearances already, and that brings us to the players to watch on Toronto FC. Another guy who's playing pretty decently this season, but maybe a question. We'll get to that in a second. But Jozy Altidore has 5 goals and 2 assists in 8 appearances. And of course, Jonathan Osorio, who is also up for goal of the week with Ezequiel Barco.
He won't win.
But he's got 3 goals and 3 assists in 8 appearances. And of course, you have the Michael Bradleys and whatnot. They're still a stacked team. There's a lot of players that are danger men, and so it's something that
this is a game that's featuring the last 2 MLS Cup winners.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of talent on this team, and
right.
Yes, they've been gutted. They had a really rough season last year. They had to get their bearings again, but they have been clicking so far. And if Jozy Altidore doesn't play, I think that's massive for Atlanta United.
Right.
And he has a hamstring injury that happened a couple weeks back. Again, those are finicky. So will he play? Won't he play? I don't know. I'd obviously prefer he didn't, because he's found his form again, and he's a dangerous player. He's a physical player.
Right.
It's kind of like a few weeks back with Kai Kamara, but he can actually finish his chances in MLS.
Right.
So he's a player that would definitely be a concern. Him plus a Pozuelo plus a Osorio, they would score goals. I mean, I can see them scoring goals if all 3 of them start. Taking him out of the equation, you put a bit more on a Pozuelo. And if you can highlight him, you have hardworking players in Gressel and in Villalba that we imagine will both start. So you have players that will run back, will defend, might be able to double up on him and limit those chances. And if you can kind of neutralize him, you might be in a really great position to snag all 3 points from this match, which would be absolutely massive for Atlanta United.
Very true. Yeah, so another person that's questionable on their team is defender Drew Moore with calf tightness. And so, you have pretty much a full-strength team pretty much for Toronto FC, more or less. And for Atlanta United, yeah, you still have, Mikey Ambrose, who is maybe iffy, and then all the rest of the kind of guys that are out longer term with Brandon Vasquez, with George Bello, of course, yeah. And so, and Kevin Krass still hasn't been able to come back from that calf injury. And so, yeah, I mean, that really still, we only have 3 essentially options in midfield. Like, we desperately need Kevin Krass back as soon as possible. But, so that gets us to our predicted 11 for this match. I mean, let's kind of go through the lines together, I guess.
Absolutely. I think you and I are pretty similar-minded on this one. You were pretty dang close with the lineup this past week, minus the whole Parkhurst left back, but I don't think really too many people expected that.
Who would have really guessed that? Most people actually probably guessed LGP at left back versus Parky. But yeah, I mean, Parky, he's that wily veteran that just knows how to position himself and knows what each position they have to do, what they, the strengths and weaknesses of his game. Like, he knows what he needs to do to make that, that game successful for himself. So, of course, Guzan between the sticks.
Absolutely.
And then, Escobar at right back.
Yep. Robinson, LGP are pretty much locked in. I think those guys, if they're fit, those are 3 of your 4 defenders.
Right.
Left back is where it gets interesting.
It is. I don't think you have Parky again where, Frank de Boer did mention that he played Parky because Johnny Russell is, left-footed. He was going to cut in a little bit more, and so Parky, being right-footed, was able to probably, at least neutralize that a little easier.
He's defending on his strong foot.
Exactly, and it's probably, it was actually a wise move because, Parky more or less had, Johnny Russell in his pocket pretty much. He had a pretty quiet night, Russell. But, in terms of, that left back then, I think
probably got to be Shea.
It's probably Breck Shea.
But this might not be the worst thing in the world for him because, again, this team, Toronto, does leave chances at the back. And Breck Shea has put in some decent balls into the box this season. And if Josef is confident in attacking those balls and he's making those runs in like we all know he can, with that confidence flowing, he might find some joy with that. And you might get a bit more of that forward ability from Breck Shea. At the same time,
I think it's the question.
You worry about that defensively.
Right, because against FC Dallas, they were targeting that side. And so it's a matter of, is Breck Shea going to stay back a little bit more and not really get involved as much? And then that becomes a little bit more difficult. Whomever is playing left wing or left midfield is maybe going to be on an island. And so that becomes an issue. And I think either way, they're going to attack on that side anyway. I think that's probably the side, if I were on the other side of the coaching bench, I would do that as well.
Absolutely.
And so,
It'd be remiss of you not to. That's definitely a weak point for Atlanta United that's not exactly a secret.
Right. And so it's something that, we have to be very wary of. And, it may have to... We may be pinned down on our left side.
If a goal gets scored this game, I would be willing to bet it would come down that side. Yeah. And it's not it's not a slight on the players that play there. It's just Toronto's a talented team going forward. Exactly. They're wily operators. They know what they're doing. One
of their strengths is attacking with and especially on that right side. So, it's going to be very, very interesting what's going to be happening there. Now, in terms of midfield, I have Loretowitz slotting back in to give Remedi a rest because he had just come back and. Yes, he came off in probably around the 70th minute or something like that.
He put in a good shift.
He put in a good shift, and I think
picked up a very weird yellow card.
Right, and it was just like he had nowhere to go. He had to land.
To be fair, on the basis of officiating in MLS this past weekend, that wasn't the worst call.
It's been shambles. But and Remedi, I think for me this game, I think with a Pozuelo, I don't know if if one person has to sit, and that's what's difficult. I think Jeff Lernowitz, he's also a wily operator that really is kind of more seasoned in there.
Knows where to be at the right place at the
exactly.
right time.
Can position himself where he doesn't need that speed to be able to neutralize a Pozuelo. And so, hopefully he is able to. I think he can do the job. And Nagby, I think, has to be next to him because
Absolutely.
it's just
It's
one of
just
those.
one of those things.
Yeah.
You're not dropping Nagby. If
Absolutely
he's fit
not.
and he has the energy, he's playing.
Exactly. And then, so yeah, getting into that forward line.
I think it's pretty much goes without saying on 4-for-4 there.
Yeah, I think so. And so, yeah, I think it's Gressel on the right. You have PT in the middle. You have Tito on the left cutting in. And, yeah, he has been able to get to the byline at times and, kind of either, kind of get across in on his left or,
Cut on the right and shoot, which he probably could have
Or
should
even
have
on his
scored.
right.
Scored that second goal
Yeah.
in that match a few weeks back. Why am I forgetting the team that we did? Rapids, where he had that cut in on the right foot, barely missed. I mean, I think the left, honestly, is probably the best place for Tito because it gives him the most ability to move around and make things happen, which is maybe why you can afford to leave him on an island because he is direct, he is comfortable going both ways, and he is very dangerous cutting in on that right foot and making an opportunity. So he could be a player that very much, especially if Toronto are attacking that right side and leaving it open, pushing their fullback up to double up on Breck Shea, then he could find himself in a lot of space on that left-hand side. And he's your quickest player running down the pitch, and he might be able to create a lot of havoc for Toronto on Wednesday.
Indeed. But, of course, up top, it's Josef Martinez. And off of a brace, I think, usually this means a lot more goals are coming. Hopefully that is the case. But, I think with that gets us to our score prediction. What do you think?
I'm going to go for a 2-2. That sounds kind of a frustrating result, but I highly rate this Toronto team. And they're fit. They're not missing one of their best players. Atlanta United are missing Ezequiel Barco. That's going to take away from them because he's been so good this season. I think it'll be... Obviously, it's frustrating to drop points at home, but again, a 2-2 result against a team that I think will be pushing to be the representative from the Eastern Conference for MLS Cup this season isn't the worst result in the world. Obviously, it means we still don't have a win against Toronto in 5 meetings, which is frustrating, but at the end of the day, it's not a bad result. I'll take it, and you move on, and you try to get 3 points on the weekend.
Yeah. I think it's maybe a little bit easier for us because... they've had to deal with that as well, a game over the weekend. I think both teams are going to probably be a little bit more fatigued, a little bit more knackered. This might be a pretty open match, and
it should be wildly entertaining compared to the usual teams that's deep. Atlanta has it 70% of the time and passes sideways. There's going to be a lot of verticality and movement and goals.
Indeed.
So it'll be a fun watch either way.
Yeah, I think a lot of early goals happen, and so it becomes a very open match. And I think Atlanta pulls out a 3-2 win. Hopefully that is the case. But
that'd be a massive result. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I hope.
With the PT Martinez goal, right?
Yes, PT Martinez and Tito Villalba goal. Yeah.
And a Joseph one in there. Those are your 3 goal scorers. Yeah. Perfect. That would be the perfect result for me. I don't care about the fact that they shipped 2 goals, whatever. But the interesting thing with Atlanta United so far is that when they do win, it has been clean sheets.
Yeah.
So if they manage to win and concede a couple goals, that's another one of those things where they can win in a different way. They can win in a different type of match against a different style of opponent.
I think Sunday was the warm-up for them in that sense where, you can see that, it's a type of match where it's so open that, if
it
SKC...
could have been 4 or 5 if we're being honest.
Oh, for sure.
Sunday.
But if SKC had been a little bit more clinical and put more shots on goal, then it probably would have been a different match. I mean, they had a lot of shots that were wayward, but they were getting those shots. And so, this is a team that is more clinical. I think that is the difference. And so
I think either way, it shapes up to be a heck of a match on Wednesday. And for a midweek match, this is a pretty darn good one. So let's see what you guys can do in the bins to make it rowdy, make it proud, back the boys because they deserve it coming off of a 3-0 win. And hopefully, like you said, get that much-needed win against Toronto and get 3 wins in a row and start kicking this season on.
Indeed. But guys, that's our match preview. Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. And if you haven't already, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe if you haven't, and smash the like button and share this video because it really does help us a lot. And for Tanner, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.